Wow, it's time for another show full of tips and ideas from the sales growth leadership expert, Dean Akers. Known for his experience in hyper-growing companies and creating cultures for high-performance teams, here's Dean.
Well, welcome to the Sales and Leadership Ninja Show. I'm your head ninja, Dean Akers, and this is my weekly rant on something that can help you in either sales or your leadership roles. This week is, again, my rants all come about by something that happened this past week. And I got to tell you, this week we're going to do a talk on what I call don't give up or people see how many get the fuck out of here as you can get. Now, I know that word disturbs people, and it's designed to disturb people because it's really blunt when you're really wanting to be a superstar ninja in sales, or you're in leadership and you want to teach your teams how to sell. You've got to give them the confidence to get thrown out. And our ninjas, my ninjas, we actually have that as a message or as a mission. We have mission statements that are, see how many of those a day you can get out of here, throw you out. See how many of them you can get a day. Now, if you're out there listening, you're probably going, that is the most craziest thing I've ever heard. And here's where it all works. I want you to be calling on or get your sales teams to call on someone that you know that buys what you sell. And people always go, well, we got a prospect or market or whatever. And we're talking primarily business to business now, not business to consumer. And so in this case, in every business I go into, we know what the customer looks like that buys what we sell. So we need to go ahead and start calling on them. And we need to start calling on them today. And we've gone over the CVs. You can listen to future or past shows on how to create value of customers and know what to call on. Now, I know that when you know the customer is going to buy what you sell, then it's only a matter of time they're going to buy from me or you. And so this week we had a couple things that really kind of brought that full circle for me. In my career, I had companies that were going, or I knew bought what I sold. When I would call on them, they would say, we're not buying from you. Or my favorite one is, we just bought. I can't tell you how many salespeople I meet, they go, well, they just closed on what we sell, so they're not going to buy again. I go, the best time to call on a client after you've lost a sale is the next day. And now you can build a relationship with the client because A, you're not selling because they just bought, and now you're in there for a genuine reason to get to know them. And guess what happens at that point? They will always change. And typically, if you want an example how I know that's to be true, you just lost a sale. And my bet is that sale was involving a change they were going through. So you want to start calling on them the day after you lose the sale, especially when you know what they were worth to you. Easy math, easy math. So what you want to do is, if you know they buy what you sell, you want to call on them. I'll give you an example. When I had a client years and years ago as a young salesperson, I knew this client was the biggest possible client in my territory. When I would go in, they would never see me. Every time I went in, the secretary would come down the hall, the receptionist knew where I was. It was a joke. We would pull out my business card and I'd write on the back, sorry I missed you, like to introduce myself. It was a joke. So I would go by there knowing that all I was going to do is write a business card and she would take it back, and I got to know her. I got to know the receptionist. People in the office knew me. In fact, it was almost such a big joke, we always cut up, that he was never going to meet me and for sure was never going to buy from me. One particular day I was stopping by just real quickly because I actually had to go somewhere else, but I wanted to make sure I was doing my tick, which you'll go back to previous shows, you'll know what that is. Or if you're a listener, you for sure know what that is. And I went in there, and here comes the secretary. I'm writing my note. I'm all ready to be blown out again. And she goes, he wants to see you. So now I went in and met with him. And when I met with him, he proceeded to tell me, Dean, I appreciate you stopping by, but I promise you, I will never do business with you. I don't like your company. I don't like your product. By the way, we sold Japanese equipment back in the day, and he was a World War II bomber pilot in the Japanese theater. So everything you could possibly throw up as a gauntlet of being non-ability to be able to sell to them was there. So he proceeded to tell me all the things he was never going to do with me. Well, I kept calling on him. He and I built a relationship because he couldn't buy from me for all the reasons he said. So it wasn't about me selling to him, nor did I ever talk about selling to him. And then at some point, he finally bought something from me. He bought something that was not related to the things everybody thought we sold. He ended up becoming my largest customer. He then became the customer company's largest customer. Again, a guy that told me he would never do business with us for multitudes of reasons. And then when I got in the tire business, he called me and said, I guess I got to do my tire business with you. And I said, but I don't even have places where you're located. And that's when he said, well, we'll build you a place at all our locations so that you'll be able to service us. So you want to keep calling. Why do I tell this? Two of my ninjas this week had big wins. One of them called me or texted me and said, I had one of the most epic walk-ins that I've had in my career. He walked in to a big potential client. He's been working for over a year. He's made relationships with the receptionist. He's gotten to know him a little bit. But at the end of the day, he couldn't get anywhere. He walked in this day, and then all of a sudden they go, I'm glad you're here. They took him around. He met the CEO, met everybody in the company. They asked him why they weren't doing business. We need to get you the business. Oh, by the way, we've got this business for you today. We're going to give you this business. It was an epic call, an epic call. Another one of my ninjas was making calls. He could never get past the receptionist. He had dropped the receptionist a note. He had sent her a 4th of July note. She called him this past week and thanked him for his kindness, both for his notes, his reaching out. Again, not selling, not going, oh, can you help me sell something to your company? She called and she goes, I know by what your card says that you do this kind of business. Is that correct? He said, yes, that's what I do. She goes, then I need to set you up, which I'm going to do, with the vice president of our division that buys what you sell, and I'll set it all up. Are you okay with that? What? What do you mean, am I okay with it? That's what I would be saying in my heart, and that's what he said in his heart. Of course he was okay. So what happens when a receptionist, 25 or plus years with a company, she wants to set you up with the decision maker? Is that a different deal than doing a presentation in a boardroom or having some big deal like that? The answer is yes, it's completely different. I had another visit this week, and I'm ranting today because I've got to tell you, getting thrown out is the best. One of my other groups, they've been to this count. The count finally said, you can come in for a 15-minute presentation. We walked in, the CEO said, you have 15 minutes to give me a presentation. He actually said that. Then he said, I just want to make something perfectly clear. Our company buys price, so make no mistake of that. And so he said, you're on. And I asked him a question. I said, can I ask you a question? And he said, yes. And so I proceeded to ask the people in the room whom we had found out a little bit about different things of their challenges of what we sold. I did say, the product we sold, I said, does everybody know what this product is? And everybody goes, yeah. I said, so do we need to talk about product? And they all started laughing. I said, I want to learn your journey. Well, let me just tell you what happened. We were in there for an hour and a half at the CEO's direction. The engagement was insane. And then at the end, and I'm going to tell my listeners, all of you listening now, you cannot make this up. There were two other witnesses sitting in the room. The CEO looked us, stared us down and said, thank you for coming in. We really appreciate our time together. And I want to make something perfectly clear to you guys. We do not buy on price. You heard that right. He changed and said, we do not buy on price. Since then, dropping him notes, he emailed me, are we going to get the business? I'm going to say probably. We're going to get some of the business, if not all the business. Would we have gotten the business if we had never kept calling on them? 100% zero. 100% zero. So, just because they bought today doesn't mean they're going to not buy from you tomorrow. If they're a client that buys what you sell and you do an estimate of what that value is, then just know they're going to buy from you one day if you work on building the relationships. So my challenge for all of you out there this week, and I know some of you are going to get all upset about this word, but I got to tell you, it's as blunt as I can make it. I want you to go out there this week and see how many of get the fuck out of here as you can get. How many times you can get thrown out of clients that buy what you want. Again, we really appreciate our listeners out there. I appreciate everybody that writes in to me at help@adjunctceo.com. Again, any questions you have, I'm going to help you with. I love rants. I love the participation I get every week from y'all from reaching out at help@adjunctceo.com when you have a question. And then I love the fact that you guys are downloading this show, learning from it, and helping you grow. So, till I see you next week, you guys go out and make it happen and get a bunch of get the fuck out of here this week. Thanks.
We hope you enjoyed this week's show. Subscribe today to our podcast and send questions or thoughts to help@deanacres.com. Also, visit us at www.deanacres.com to listen to prior shows and view helpful videos. Also, great tips to download. Thanks again. See you next week.